Channel open. Welcome back to WeeklyTrek, a proud member of the Tricorder Transmissions podcast network and presented in partnership with TrekCore.com. I am your host, Alex Perry.
What's today's date? The date.
Today's show was recorded on July 9th, 2022, and is current to the Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1 finale, A Quality of Mercy, so beware of spoilers. All right, let's get into the show.
Good day, Voyager, and welcome to A Briefing with Neelix. It's a catchy title, isn't it?
WeeklyTrek is a regular news show covering the biggest stories from the Star Trek franchise. We are in a new golden age of Star Trek. There are 5 television shows in production, possibly more on the way, and enough merchandise to fill the Bajoran wormhole. So stick with me and I'll help you sort the real facts from lots of the Dominion propaganda that you'll find online. But I can't do this alone, and my guest this week is returning guest and co-host of the Snap Trek podcast, and the only person dumb enough to say yes to me when I was about 6 hours past finally being free of COVID when I said, hey, I really want to do WeeklyTrek. Are you available to do WeeklyTrek? It's Jen Tift. Jen, welcome back to WeeklyTrek.
Hey, I'm good for those last minute, need a warm body type things. I'm always available.
All right, Jen, well, you know the drill. I want to know something that's got you excited about Star Trek at the moment. What's got you moving at Warp 10?
I mean, there's tons of things happening.
Sure is.
And we're going to talk about a lot of what has just happened. So I'm not going to bring that up. What's actually got me moving at Warp 10 right now is thinking about the future, thinking about how next month is August.
Yes.
Which is always a wonderful month.
Yes.
And these past 2 Augusts
yes.
have been filled with Lower Decks, which is perfect for August. And I am really, really hoping that happens again, that we get the next season of Lower Decks very soon, because that's a really good way to kick off that summer month for me. So hopefully that happens.
I mean, it's got to be, right?
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
Right?
I think we're all just like sitting around and sort of, like, all right, when are they finally going to announce the season 3 premiere of Lower Decks? And hey, maybe it'll be at the San Diego Comic-Con panel in 2 weeks.
That's right. That's right. There's a lot of announcements coming. So I'm hoping that's one of them. And I'm just very excited to see what's in store for the Cerritos.
And what do you think you're most looking forward to from season 3 of Lower Decks?
Well, I mean, we got a cliffhanger to resolve,
sure
which is always, but I'm very interested to see where they go with Mariner and Jennifer.
Yep. You like a little bit of romance? Fair enough.
I like a little bit of romance. And I'm looking forward to seeing who we know from other series that are going to be making appearances, because there's going to be they've got more up their sleeves, so I'm interested, and I don't have any I haven't been spoiled for anything as far as future cameos, so I'm
except for the one we saw at Mission Chicago.
Oh, that's right. Which is glorious.
Yes, it is excellent.
Yes, I probably shouldn't even use the term glorious.
It was an honorable cameo.
Oh no.
That's right. I think it's out there.
That's funny. Yeah. That's right. Besides that, but there's more than just that one.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Well, let me tell you the thing. I'm feeling good about Star Trek this week, which is that, and this is my way of sneaking in an extra news story, the announcement this week of the September release of 4K versions of Star Trek 5 and Star Trek 6, and the all of the versions of Star Trek the Motion Picture on this complete collection release they're doing, which is the theatrical edition of the motion picture, the director's edition of the motion picture, and the special longer version of the motion picture, which was the TV edit VHS cut that was the one that most people saw for many years, which includes the famous shot of Kirk leaving the ship wearing his spacesuit, and they never finished the effects. So you can see all of the stage scaffolding around the little cargo bay door that they built. And it's just existed there in that cut forever. I guess what they've said is they have finished that shot for the special longer version. Well, so they finished the shot, but the original will also be available on the disc for you to watch.
Oh, good.
Separately.
Okay.
Yes. So if you want to revisit the unfinished effect shot, you can do that.
Oh, that's the version I first saw. That's my.
Well, I mean, I think that's the version most people who like grew up in the 80s and early 90s probably saw, because that was the one on VHS and that was the one on TV.
Yeah.
I actually don't know that I have ever seen it, because the first time I watched the motion picture was not until it first came out on DVD. And I actually think the first time I watched it was the director's edition. So I don't know that I've ever actually seen the special longer version of the movie. So that's part of the reason why I'm excited to get this version of the movie, is so that I can watch that version of it.
Watch it with the unfinished effects.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, yes, get it in all its glory.
Yes. I want to immerse myself in the motion picture's disastrous production history.
Exactly. It's part of the fun. You know?
Right. Yeah. It is part of the charm of that movie. All right. Well, with that, let's turn to the week's top stories.
There's a war going on, and I'm a reporter.
Star Trek Strange New Worlds showrunner Henry Alonso Myers has been on the interview circuit recently talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds' big first season, including the season finale, A Quality of Mercy, and has also dropped some small hints about what we might expect from the now filmed season 2. Speaking about A Quality of Mercy, Alonso Myers said, quote, "We had 3 ideas in the room. One was, what if we found a way to retell a classic episode of TOS but with our characters? And one was what I would call the Ghost of Pike's Future, the classic time travel idea of what if your older self comes back and says, don't do that thing that you're about to do. And then there was this third idea. Spock in the TOS episode, The Menagerie, is a person who steals the Enterprise and clearly has a loyalty to Captain Pike. What if we told that story of how that came to be?" Those 3 elements all coalesced into this episode. This is the story I really wanted to tell, and so I asked co-showrunner Akiva Goldsman to write it with me. And I think it was Balance of Terror, frankly, because I just always liked Balance of Terror. I wish I had a better answer than that, but it's just one of my favorite TOS episodes. And if you're going to retell a classic episode, let's retell a good one. And looking ahead to season 2, Alonso Myers discussed both a new chief engineer for the Enterprise and also teased a little about how the cliffhanger from season 1 with Una would conclude. "We will meet a new chief engineer. It's not going to be Scotty," he said about the second season. "There will be a new character who I'm excited for you to meet, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. It's going to be a very different person, a completely different type of engineer." The Una piece is absolutely a cliffhanger. Part of that was because we felt there was a big chunk of her story that we had yet to tell. We really wanted to dig into it, and we had an idea about how to do a real straight down the middle classic Trek episode in order to tell the next piece of her story, which we get into next season. And speaking of Bruce Horak's Hemmer, who was controversially killed off at the end of episode 109, Alonso Myers said, quote, "The intention of bringing in Hemmer was to bring in a character who would die. We knew that when Bruce Horak came in for his first audition. The challenge of doing all these legacy characters is everybody knows that none of them die, so we worked on how to make people care about the fate of the story. One of our ideas was to make someone that we cared about die, and for better or worse, I feel like we didn't know that Bruce would be so great. We didn't know he'd do it so well, and we didn't know it'd be so heartbreaking. Sometimes you're fortunate and you find the perfect person for the perfect role, and Bruce was that guy. I will say that while Hemmer is dead, it's not necessarily the last that we will see of Bruce on our show." Jen, I seem to recall that 11 weeks ago, you and I had a pretty perfect evening enjoying the New York premiere of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Now that we've hit the end of 10 episodes, did the whole season match up to the heady heights of the beginning?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, the beginning of Strange New Worlds was magic, absolutely magic, but it's just gotten better and better. It ended it started with a fantastic first episode, but it ended with one of my favorite episodes of the new modern era, and it's exceeded my expectations in every way with the characters, the plots. I think this is got to be in the running for the best first season for sure of any Star Trek series. And I just oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean they started strong, and where they ended was really strong too. So I don't know how to answer that, honestly. It's just better and better. Yeah,
I mean, I love this first season. As you say, I think it probably is one of the better first seasons in Star Trek history. I think, obviously I'm very conscious that I'm a huge recency bias person. For me, everything I just saw is always the best of the best of the best. But even with that sense of recency bias, I kind of think and sense that this one was really special. I mean, it's 10 episodes and there are really no like genuinely bad ones amongst the bunch. There are ones that people dislike for various reasons. I have one that I dislike for a very particular reason, which I've not really talked about on this show because we didn't do a show last week, but hey, we can get into it. But A Quality of Mercy is, I think, my favorite live action, certainly season finale since 0 Hour in 2003 or whenever that was for Enterprise. The modern era of live action Star Trek has not done finales super well. Lower Decks has knocked it out of the park both times, but Discovery and Picard, while they have done lots of great episodes, oftentimes the finales, are a little bit lacking. But this one was absolutely wonderful. I mean, from the, retelling of Balance of Terror to Pike in the Monster Maroon doing his best John Wayne impression to, everything about that last episode, the sort of, I mean, obviously we knew Kirk was coming and we'll talk more about Kirk in the next story, but, to have that kind of reveal, it's just been 10 episodes of really great Star Trek that people seem to like a lot. And that the thing that I have noticed is how many people have been talking about the show who I've never seen talk about Star Trek before, right? Like you go on Twitter and you see, people saying, oh, I'm really enjoying Star Trek Strange New Worlds, entertainment related people, many of whom who've never sent a single Star Trek tweet in their lives, now saying, hey, this is something that I'm into and I'm all about. And this one seems to have hit people in a way that no other one up to this point really has. And that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing too. I've had my worlds collide with Philadelphia Twitter and Star Trek Twitter. I saw a Strange New Worlds tweet and I'm like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be tweeting about the Eagles. What's happening here?
Yes, worlds collide.
Worlds collide. It's great to see. It's and it's just going to get more and more word of mouth as it, now that there's a full season. I bet a lot of people were waiting, a lot of people do that. They wait for the full season to land and then, sign up for Paramount Plus and give it a try. Obviously
you're a big, engineering is your space, chief engineer, is obviously an important character to you, has been across many different shows. Shout out to your recent Trek Ranks appearance on Top 5 Scenes in Engineering, which you managed to only pick two. Was it 2 that had Trip Tucker or was it 3 in the end?
It was only 2.
It just felt like 5.
It did.
And
I restrained myself. I was proud of myself.
So how do you feel about this news that there's going to be a new character replacing Hemmer? Because I think lots of people after Quality of Mercy, the sort of surprise cameo from Scotty were like, oh, well, that means Scotty's coming in the next season, but I guess he's not. How do you feel about, getting somebody else entirely new in this position?
Okay, well, I'll talk about that first, and then we can talk about Hemmer. First, I'm glad that we're not having Scotty right away because we have Kirk. Let me get you to the new Kirk. We'll talk about him later. I actually really like him. Yeah. But let's enjoy that. We have our new Spock. We have our new Uhura. Let's enjoy our new Kirk, and then maybe down the line get a new Scotty. I'm interested. I want a new character. Let's have a new character. They say it's completely different than anything we've seen, and a different type of engineer. Great, awesome. Can't wait to see what they have up their sleeves. Now, on the other hand, Hemmer dying.
Controversial.
I loved Hemmer. Yeah. I do. I love Hemmer. I thought he was just such a wonderful character. An underrepresented alien, species, first of all, which was really cool to have on the cast of humans. and then the added layer, having, the representation of an actor with a disability was pretty important to me. I thought that was a really, it was a really great step forward, I thought. And I think they kind of did us a little bit dirty from that perspective of marketing it as, oh, look, here's our cast. And one of our main casts is an actor with a disability. And they got all the, kudos for that and all the everything that goes along with having such a great step forward with that. And I was looking forward to having, some more stories, that are influenced by that. And you fall in love with this character and then poof, episode 9, he's dead. Sorry, he's dead. Yep. So I think it was a little bit of a bait and switch, honestly. But from a dramatic perspective, I think it worked. And it did help me to hear that Bruce was aware of his character, what his character arc was going to be ahead of time. That helped me deal with it a little bit more. Like, okay, he's on board and he's going to be back, they say. Okay, that's great. But, still disappointing. And Hammer was awesome. And I'm glad he died a hero. And it's kind of, he was an important character too, because now every time I watch Uhura do something cool on the Enterprise, I'm gonna remember that her mentor, and because she does, we do it, we see her in TOS doing like fixing electronics and things like that, and now like I'm gonna have in the back of my head, her mentor in that department was Hemmer, and and she probably thinks about him, and I don't know, so it's I get the arc, the character arc, what they were going for, but it's still a little bit disappointing to me that this has happened again, killing a character who is a little bit bigger than the character, and them just dismissively killing said character. That's not my fave. I'll put it that way, not my fave.
Yeah,
but I get it. I get narratively why they did it. So.
Yeah, and I'll preface this by saying I said a bunch of very nice things about Strange New Worlds just a moment ago, but like I hated this. I hated everything about it. I'm more okay with it. You've seen me go through the 7 stages of grief with this, and I went through a bitterly angry period about it.
Yeah,
and I'm now sort of have reached. I don't know that I'm at the acceptance stage yet, but I'm not at the like white hot rage step for it, because I was so disappointed that they did that, and then even more disappointed to learn that they knew about it from the start, from the sense that my sense was they did just enough to make you care about the character, but only in service of ultimately killing him, right? He's not in a couple of the episodes. He doesn't even show up in the pilot until like the very, very end of the episode. He drops out of a couple of episodes. There's no Hemmer episode, right? It's just like, yes, he has the arc in relation to Uhura's growth into that character role, and that's really important. But ultimately, that is his only arc, is in service of another character's arc. And that's fine for guest characters, and that's fine for supporting characters. But he was in the opening credits. Bruce Horak was at the premiere, billed as a main character. Your series leads should not serve only to support the arc of another series lead. They should each have their own roles within the show, their own identities, and their own characters. And so in some ways, it's so bitterly disappointing to me that outside of the Uhura relationship, the only time Hemmer gets the opportunity to really shine is in the Elysian Kingdom.
Abracadabra.
Right. And, the magic of science wins through again, right? All of which was wonderful stuff. But it was that character existing in a not Star Trek episode, right? Like purposefully something very, very different. And I'm so angry that we got to the end of 9 episodes and the chief engineer of the Starship Enterprise did not have any of the triumphant engineering moments from the 9 episodes prior to that, right? Like they went to all of the trouble of lavishly rebuilding the Jeffries Tube set in exacting detail to the TOS depiction, and there is not one single shot in that whole first season in which Hemmer is in the Jeffries Tube, the place where a chief engineer should be on a TOS Enterprise. He didn't get it. And now he's dead, and we know he's not coming back, right? This is not going to be one of those like Shaq's resurrection things. They said the character is dead and is not coming back. So like, that's it for Hemmer. And we didn't really eat right. Like, there was this incredible angle around he's an Anar, right? He's from this Andorian subspecies that we met in 2 episodes of Enterprise. And you're thinking, wow, this is this fantastic opportunity to really do a real deep dive into that culture through the eyes of a main character. Did we learn anything about the Anar in 9 episodes that didn't come directly from the Anar episode in Star Trek Enterprise? No, we didn't, right? What did we learn? They're mildly telepathic. They're pacifists. All right, thanks. I already knew that. There was no real use of that character. Oh, and the telepathy thing, they spent 2 episodes kind of turning that off for him so that it wasn't something that he could use in order to help the crew. And they specifically wrote it into the scripts to be like, nope, this is not going to help you now, right? Like, so I understand why they did it. I respect the creative choice. For me, it didn't work at all. And that's what I have to say about Hammer.
I feel, I mean, reading the article you were just talking about, it's kind of, he was a little dismissive about it. Oh, we didn't know Bruce was going to be so great in the role. Well,
yeah.
You know what? You had it. You had magic. You had lightning in a bottle. You could have changed the script.
Changed the ending.
Could have changed the ending.
Yeah. There's nothing stopping you from doing that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the need that they always have to fridge characters anyway.
Yeah. Right.
Like, wait, I don't need that. I mean, I get like, okay, I don't like it for the series, but it made it a better episode. Because
yes.
It fit. It was narratively necessary to make it a Star Trek version of a horror movie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
More than a red shirt had to die.
Yeah, more than a red shirt had to die. For, you know, he died heroically to save everybody. That's how you make a horror movie, a Star Trek horror movie, you know? And I thought if I didn't know anything else and just saw that episode, I would love the death, quite honestly.
Yeah.
You know, but that's not how this works. This is a series. This isn't one episode. This isn't a movie.
Right.
And it's very disappointing.
And in some ways, yes, that is the Star Trek version of a horror episode. But to me, doesn't a Star Trek version of a horror episode, doesn't that go one step further and say, you can save the day, right? Like, you know, through the power of science and technology and everybody working together and teamwork makes the dream work, right? Like all of those sort of fuzzy Star Trekian values. Like, shouldn't you even be like, it should have been on the table.
I get what you're saying, but in a horror movie, there's the final girl.
Right.
And our final girl is going to be our crew, you know, but to make one of them not come back, that elevates it into a better horror in my opinion. But I can see why that one, wouldn't work for other people. Plus, I mean, there was so many ways. Like, I thought for sure that him being an Enar was going to, I mean, you could have wrote that anyway. You could have been like, oh, guess what? He can handle the cold, so he can go out in the cold, and it's too cold for the Gorn babies, and they'll die. And do you know what I mean? Or I don't know. Like they could have technobabbled that away, but
easily could have technobabbled it away.
But yeah, but I don't understand. Like this character that they're bringing in,
big shoes to fill.
Yeah, how are they going to top Hemmer? There's literally I mean, you can record me saying this, then it'll be my new favorite character, but I really don't see how they could possibly do any better than Hemmer.
There you go. No. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Jentith just laid down the gauntlet.
Do it. Prove me wrong, Strange New Worlds.
Prove us wrong.
Prove me wrong. But we do get Bruce back, they said.
Yes. Hey, maybe he's playing the new chief engineer.
See, that's cool. Okay.
Maybe he's playing Hemmer's twin.
Hemmer's twin.
Nenna.
Or Well, yeah, I guess.
I'm trying to think what tenor. There you go.
I mean, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what they got up their sleeves. I'm going the benefit of the doubt, I guess.
Yeah. It's not like they haven't earned it after one of the best seasons of Star Trek in 15 years. For goodness sake, people, come on now. Well, another big surprise in A Quality of Mercy was the appearance of an alternate Captain James T. Kirk in command of the USS Farragut and played by the previously announced Paul Wesley, who we weren't expecting to show up in Strange New Worlds until season 2. With the character's debut, Wesley has been doing a number of interviews about taking on the iconic role, and in talking to Collider, he discussed his familiarity with the Star Trek franchise and his take on Captain Kirk. I love the title of this new series, Strange New Worlds, because it really is, Wesley said in reflecting on his turn on the show. It truly encapsulates what the show is about, which is about exploration. It's a space adventure. It's about this crazy little community of people that are exploring worlds, and that is really what the show is. I love that there's an optimism. Again, it's fun, but at the same time, there's a lot of meaning and a lot of metaphor. We get to analyze our own behaviors on planet Earth through the actions of this crew. And speaking about his approach to embodying the character of James T. Kirk, Wesley said, quote, "What William Shatner did is not touchable. You cannot mess with William Shatner. He created Captain Kirk, Period. End of story. For me to try to imitate William Shatner in any way would be, I think, an insult to Captain Kirk, right? I think it's important to just understand who Kirk is, what his childhood was like, what he wants, what he doesn't want, what the pillars of his personality and his character traits that are important to the development of that character. With that in mind, you can then play and create your own interpretation, because it is. There's a different Spock, there's a different Uhura, there's a different everything. You have to just create your own things. You can't do an imitation because that would be too shallow. In the season 1 finale, it's like an alternate timeline that really has never been done before, and so there's a little bit more room for interpretation. But as we get to know Kirk in season 2, it's a younger Kirk. It's a pre-Enterprise Captain Kirk. It's a little bit of that. He's a little bit more of that, I guess, in that Chris Pine world. But Chris Pine was the Kelvin. He's sort of in between all of that. But at the end of the day, it's a different Kirk. It's a different Kirk than we've seen. I think that was really the only way to do it, frankly. There's no other way. And what it was like to sit in the captain's chair for the first time, Wesley reflected on the importance of the character of Kirk seeming perfectly comfortable there. TV schedules are crazy, right? He said. You don't get to prep for 2 months. It's daunting to show up on the set the first day like, oh my God, I got to sit in a chair that presumably I've been sitting in comfortably hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times, and I'm sitting in it for the first time. It's like all of those things that are just so pivotal. And so I was just trying to get as comfortable as possible, trying to get out of my head that I was playing Kirk. You just have to try your best to get there out of your own head, have fun, explore, because ultimately the reason people fell in love with Captain Kirk is because William Shatner was having fun. He was using his instinct. He was charming. He got to do so many different things. And if he wasn't using his instinct, then using some of his own personality in that role, maybe people wouldn't have appreciated it as much. I think I really just wanted to be myself in some ways while paying respect to the character. Well, Jen, you were my guest when Paul Wesley was announced as Kirk. And I think at that point in time, neither of us were really sure what to expect. Now that you've seen him in action, what did you think?
I love him.
Hey!
I was unsure.
You were. You were probably more negative on it than I was in that episode, if I recall correctly.
I think I remember saying, like, it's a change.
Yeah.
You got,
it's a change. It's a big change.
I love James Kirk.
It's a big step.
It was a big step. It was a big step when we met Ethan Peck.
It's a big step.
It's a big step now. But I honestly, I think he's doing a wonderful job so far. I think, like what he said in the article, he's not doing a Shatner. He's being himself, but he definitely understands the character of Kirk. You can see that, and I feel like he's. Like, there's just something like his mannerisms, his confidence, the way he moves is more about this body language, I think, that made him believable to me so far as Kirk. And you can see that he really did his homework. And I think I mentioned the last time I was on when we talked, when it was announced that I was going to watch The Vampire Diaries.
Yes. Did you
I was unfamiliar.
Watch The Vampire Diaries?
I did, because I was completely unfamiliar with Paul Wesley. Yeah. So I watched the first, 3 seasons of The Vampire Diaries. That was all I could take.
So you're done now. We're done with The Vampire
I might pick it up again.
Okay.
But it's interesting to watch, because I think watching that made me see how much acting he's really doing here. On The Vampire Diaries, he's basically just, he's a poor man's angel. He's just a brooding vampire that wants to save you. He's phoning that in, because that's there's just not much to that kind of character.
Sure.
But so seeing him play Stefan and then seeing him play Kirk, I can kind of see, like, you can kind of get a little bit of insight into his process here about what he's doing it, because he really he's changed everything about how he moves, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
From what he does in Vampire Diaries. Mm-hmm. He's changed how he moves, where he focuses his attention. Like it's just like all the little body language things are different. And it's really cool. I love him. I'm big fan. And I really look forward to seeing him and Ethan Peck, because I remember too, like I don't know what was the first episode Ethan Peck was in, and it was probably the same thing. It's like, I can see where this guy
Through the Valley of Shadows, I think.
Yeah, I get like, I can see where this guy's going. Like this is
right.
And then now I'm like in love. I mean, he's Spock now.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I think it'll be the same thing with Paul Wesley for most people, I think.
Yeah, his performance has grown on me. The first time I watched it, I was like, I don't know. Something just is very weird about this. And then I rewatched this, and I rewatched it, and then I rewatched it again, and then I rewatched it again. And I've decided that what didn't sit right with me, and for those of you who are listening who are like, I'm not sure that I loved Paul Wesley's Kirk. Ask yourself how much that's because this is an absolutely iconic character that you're now seeing only the third interpretation on that character. And the two other interpretations, one of which is William Shatner, which, you know, as Paul Wesley himself very eloquently put it, cannot be imitated and cannot be replaced. And the other is Chris Pine, who we now have lived with Chris Pine's interpretation of Captain Kirk since 2009. And that was 13 years ago, right? Like, that was a long time ago that we've had to kind of sit with that interpretation. And we're up to now about 4 days with Paul Wesley's Captain Kirk. And I think so the more and I think the other thing too is, in some ways, Equality and Mercy is an excellent episode. That was a really difficult one to throw Paul Wesley into the middle of, because it was a retelling of an original series episode, but with such a different spin. You're forever going to be directly comparing how did William Shatner handle that episode versus how did Paul Wesley handle that episode, right? Like, obviously they're captains of different ships in these two different versions of the episode, and they have slightly different life experiences because one's captain of the Enterprise and one's captain of the Farragut, but it's still a balance of terror, right? Like, so you're still sort of examining it through the lens of, and they go so far in so many places to recreate specific shots and looks and even direct dialogue from Balance of Terror. At least with Star Trek 2009, when you first got your exposure to Chris Pine's Captain Kirk, you were seeing an entirely new story. So you didn't have a Shatner version of it to compare against. You do with this version of Paul Wesley, and that's in some ways like gives him an even higher threshold over which to jump. And so I think what will really kind of prove, I think, to a lot of people that this guy does feel like Kirk, and as I say, the more I rewatch it, the more I'm like, yep, this is Captain Kirk, I'm very comfortable with this, will be once they get into season 2 and whatever the kind of new stories that they start telling with this then earlier version of Captain Kirk. I think, you know, it's then going to fall into place for a lot more people where right now people are struggling, and I can understand why they're struggling, but I don't think it's Paul Wesley's fault.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, if we want to hear more stories about these characters, we're going to have to deal with other actors interpreting them. Yeah. That's just how it's going to be. So deal with it. This is Captain Kirk, you know.
Unless you want to go the Star Wars direction and have some ungodly digital avatar, you know,
this is way
created
better.
by computers.
Yeah, and you're right that, I mean, this was a very difficult first introduction, but also he's technically an alternate, like you said, he's technically an alternate Kirk too. And I think Paul Wesley even mentioned that, I think, in the article about how this was Pike's story, and this was just how Pike, like, he's bouncing off against Pike, but in season 2 there's going to be more about the Kirk character and how he's, you know, so I think you should withhold judgment anyway, you know, since we haven't really gotten that much time with him, but it makes me look forward to season 2 even more.
And Kirk is defined by so many of those pivotal relationships that he has. Yeah. And, you know, we got a little bit of Kirk and Spock in Equality of Mercy, but it was mostly, they were not really Kirk and Spock scenes. They were scenes in which Kirk was there and Spock was there, and maybe they had a little bit of interaction, but it was not a direct kind of conversation between the two of them. Whereas again, flashback to Star Trek 2009, you had Kirk and Spock scenes, you had Kirk and McCoy scenes, and even though those relationships were a little bit different and their origins were maybe a little bit different, there was still all of the kind of fundamental pieces of that were in place. Yeah. Where I think if we get into season 2, and it sounds like we're going to get Kirk in 2 or 3 episodes in the season, you know, there'll be more time and space for character work for Kirk rather than plot-based work for Kirk, which is what we really got in this episode. The Star Trek franchise will be making its annual appearance at San Diego Comic-Con in a couple of weeks and have lined up 3 shows to talk about, where hopefully we'll get some new information, reveals, and maybe some new footage to enjoy. The Star Trek Universe panel will take place on Saturday, July 23rd, between 12:45 and 2:15 p.m. Pacific. Yep, that's 90 minutes long, and will feature cast and creatives from Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Lower Decks, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Sir Patrick Stewart will be appearing alongside Gates McFadden for the Picard panel. Tawny Newsom, Jack Quaid, Noel Wells, Dawn Lewis, and Mike McMahon will be on the Lower Decks panel, and Anson Mount, Ethan Peck, Christina Chong, Celia Rose Gooding, Paul Wesley, and Henry Alonzo Myers will fill out the Strange New Worlds panel, with both Alex Kurtzman and Rod Roddenberry also appearing on all 3 of the panels. In addition to the panels, the 10 Forward experience that was in Los Angeles earlier this year to celebrate Star Trek Picard Season 2 will also be present at San Diego Comic-Con. Tickets are sold out, so if you are going to SDCC, I hope you have that ticket already. And the Wrath of Pecan ice cream trucks, which is celebrating the 40th anniversary of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, will also be on hand in San Diego. Jen, spitball for me. What do you think we'll learn at this year's San Diego Comic-Con?
Oh, I don't know. Premiere dates, hopefully, at least for Lower Decks. Actually, maybe even Picard, because Picard is pretty close behind too. Strange New Worlds, I don't know if there's going to be any bombshells.
Yeah. That one feels like that's going to be a victory lap, right? We just had a great first season. Right. We might give you a hint about something in season 2, but we're not coming with a trailer and we're not coming with anything. We're just there to be like, wow, didn't you guys just enjoy 10 fucking great episodes?
Right.
Yeah.
And Dawn Lewis is on. I'm looking forward to hearing maybe some a little bit about what might be in store for Captain Freeman's cliffhanger. Yeah, it's gonna be good. The Lower Decks panels are always the best.
Yeah,
they're always.
I mean, the Mission Chicago one was an all-timer Star Trek convention panel
for sure. And Leah Thompson's just delightful.
Yeah,
I think that's a great choice. But yeah, I think honestly, like the Picard stuff might be a little bit of a victory lap too.
Yeah, though having Gates there,
oh yes, that
makes me think it will be forward-looking to season 3, and I can't imagine you're going to do a Hall H San Diego Comic-Con panel. You're back in person for the first time since 2019.
That might be the trailer.
You've got Sir Patrick Stewart and you've got Gates McFadden, and you're not at least going to put something in the room that's like Crusher, right? Like, I don't know if they'll then release it to the public, but my guess is there's definitely going to be something that's just going to be for people in the room, which, people will write up and talk about, but it won't get released. And my guess is, whether we see it or not, we're going to get some Dr. Crusher footage at San Diego Comic-Con. Because otherwise, like, why do you pull in Gates if you're not going to give her something that she can talk about beyond just, I was in Star Trek Picard season 3 and I had a great time, because I'm under an NDA and can't say very much more than that. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I was wondering if they were going to do that, like leading up to it, like the introductions to all the characters again, like little clips.
Yes.
One for each character.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah.
But, so we might get a, Beverly specific.
Yep.
A little bit about where she's been, or or her reunion with Picard. Who knows? Cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to guess that's where we get our season 3 release date for Lower Decks.
Yeah.
And I think like our history with Lower Decks has been, they tend to announce them pretty close to the actual premiere date.
Right.
Like, I think like 3, maybe 4 weeks. So if it's the 23rd, I mean, it's easily on air by mid-August. If the panel is the 23rd, right? Like, let's look at the calendar. Panel is the 23rd, Saturday the 23rd. Like 3 weeks after that would be Saturday, August 13th. I could very easily see the premiere being Thursday, August the 18th,
Let's do it.
Yeah. Which is a week before Star Trek Las Vegas, 2 days before Trek on Naroga.
Oh.
Good times.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I'll get my buffer time margaritas and my dirty Delta martinis ready. I'm so excited. It's happening.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be a something more. Like, I don't know what that's going to be, but I think there will be, like, maybe it's a legacy character in Picard that's previously not been announced, or in Lower Decks. Something like that, I think, will, be the sort of big story coming out of the convention.
Can't wait to find out.
And lastly this week, German brick building company Blue Bricks, think very similar to Lego, are expanding their range of Star Trek products to include some very cool and very large construction sets. The company has already released a range of smaller sized ships and accessories to build, but have moved into bigger sets this month with the announcement of 4 large size building sets. Blue Bricks will be releasing a Star Trek First Contact phaser rifle. This 2,273-piece kit is almost full size to the original prop. This is the phaser rifle from the Battle on the Deflector dish in the movie, since there are like 3 different phaser rifles in that movie, and will cost you 170 euros. A large Klingon bird of prey model is also coming. That's 1,500 pieces. A large Deep Space Nine model will also be arriving later this year at almost 3,000 pieces. And then my personal favorite, the thing that will finally get me to build a Lego-ish set for the first time since I was a kid, the company will be releasing a 3,090-piece kit to make the Runabout Rio Grande from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. This impressive size runabout, which includes the roll bar seen on some of the runabout models, will not just include the exterior of the vehicle, but the interior as well, including both the runabout's cockpit and the aft section seen in the Next Generation episode Timescape. That set will retail for approximately 200 euros. Though these sets are only available to purchase from Germany due to license restrictions, the company does ship internationally. So if you are in the US and you are interested in a Lego-like Star Trek building experience, this might be fun to check out, since I don't think Lego is going to pick up the license anytime soon. Jen, are you much of a Lego fan, and do any of these products catch your eye?
I am a huge Lego fan. I find it extremely relaxing.
What was the last thing that you built?
The last thing that I built, well, I have 3 kids, so I'm building Legos. I'm building like
so
Star
like
Wars.
3 hours ago.
Yeah, 3 hours ago. Well, you know what? The Lego Ninjago sets. I was building. There's a big. My son's got a huge like volcano lair.
Oh wow!
From the bad guy's volcano lair is really cool. But I've already ordered myself a bird of prey, because that is my absolute favorite. It looks so cool.
Very
so
cool.
I'm excited. I'm ordering that, and no one's allowed to help me with it. I don't know how that's gonna work. This is mommy's Lego
yes,
set.
This
Maybe
is Star Trek.
You can sit into your Legos.
Get your hands off it.
I'm sure they'll want to help, but
yeah,
but yeah, it's just very relaxing. But it just looks really good, and it's one of my favorite chips. And that one caught my eye right away. So as soon as that one came available, I ordered that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that one's available. The phaser rifle's available.
Yes.
The runabout's not yet available. That's so I'm like hitting refresh every day to see if it is available, because I'm definitely going to buy it. And yeah, as I say, I was a huge Lego kid. I love Lego when I was a kid, but it's probably been 20 years since I last clicked bricks together outside of sitting in a strategic planning meeting 9 days ago, where the strategic planning facilitator put a stack of Lego in the middle of every table as like a fidget thing for you to just kind of do to like help your brain move, which is actually really fun. So yeah, this will be my first one, but I'm thrilled. Like, I love the fact it's got the interior of the runabout, including the aft section. So I can't wait for that. And then to put it all together. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. All right. Well, we've talked about the facts, and now let's speculate on what's going to happen in the future of Star Trek.
You make some very good points, Captain. But it's still all speculation and theory.
So each week, my guest and I give you a wish or theory we're nurturing about any of the shows or the future of the franchise. So Jen, let's hear your theory or wish for this week.
Oh, I'm just going to talk more about Kirk.
Go for it.
Can't help it. It's just very intriguing for me what they did here, because with Quality and Mercy, they basically made it so Pike's basically like handpicking his successor.
Yep.
As as who's going to take care of the Enterprise and who's going to take care of Spock. I find that so interesting. So I'm really, really looking forward to that relationship, which I didn't really care about before. The more Pike and Kirk together, I think is going to be interesting as a little bit of a mentor-mentee kind of thing. Obviously Spock, Paul Wesley has talked about Ethan Peck, about their friendship. They're apparently have become friends. And it sounds like they have a really nice rapport. And I think
friends to lovers, I'm sure.
Yeah. Right. Depending on,
it's been known to happen.
But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing their rapport together. But I'm also my wish is, well, I kind of have like a wish and a theory, I guess, about Kirk. And I feel like I think Kirk is going to help with the Una cliffhanger.
Yes.
Is my theory.
Yes. Because
we know in the future timeline before Quality of Mercy happened, that she got where mentioned she's in like is she excommunicated, or is she in a prison colony?
She's incarcerated. She's in prison.
Yeah. And Pike wasn't able to protect her, get her out. And so we know that he might need some help in doing that, because we know what's going to happen. We're going to just end up in prison for the next, for 7 more seasons.
Yeah.
So, he's going to maybe have to like think about doing some things outside the box that he wouldn't normally have thought of, and who's he better going to ask than Kirk, because now they have this relationship, and and like I said, maybe mentor mentee, but maybe in both directions, because I think they both could use some of what the other has. So I think we might get scenes like that, which I really, that's my theory / wish, one of them.
I've been fixated on this thing that you said after Equality of Mercy came out. You said that this episode was like that. We've often wondered what would it be like if Picard faced In the Pale Moonlight, or if Sisko faced Deadlock. And we got that with Equality of Mercy, because Pike faced Balance of Terror and he sucked at it. He didn't suck at it, but he didn't win. He lost.
Right.
And
Kirk
won.
was the man for that job. Yeah.
Right. And the implication of that being, and this is why you're very smart, the implication of that being that certain of these characters and certain of these captains are right for certain situations and maybe wrong for others. And like clearly busting Una out of jail the first time was one of those, like, Pike was not right for it, because we peered into his future, a Kirkless future, and found that he was not successful. Now, as you say, they're not writing Rebecca Romijn out, certainly not right.
I'm not worried about.
Yeah. Fairly certain she's coming back to Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I love that theory, because I think that is exactly what's going to happen. That he's going to be like, how would you handle this situation? Yeah. Kirk will do it, and that will fix the situation. And that's how Una will rejoin the crew, and that'll be that, And in some ways, Pike kind of blundered into doing this, because he put in he told Starfleet that that's what she was, and she was like, isn't that going to land me in trouble? And he was like, no, and if it does, I'll help you through it. I'll
handle it.
Yeah. And like, you ain't handling it yet, buddy. You got a little bit more to do there.
Right. Yeah.
I love that theory.
Thank you. And a little bit more shallow of a wish.
Yes, please. Please.
I'll keep going.
Please.
No. Okay. So, but my wish has to do, like, if you haven't, you should. This is like a spoiler. If people have not seen the footage that was the pictures that were leaked when Paul Wesley.
Yes.
This is a spoiler. So if you haven't seen those, like, tune out for.
Yep. Skip ahead
30 seconds or whatever. Yep. The one glorious picture of Paul Wesley and La'an making out.
Yep.
Which, we didn't know La'an then. We didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
Really, and now we do, and now I am in love with the character of La'an, and
colleagues to lovers.
Oh my God! Well, I wonder if you noticed in Quality of Mercy how radiant and happy she looked serving with her man Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the Midas touch, I suppose.
I mean, she was radiant, and I know part of it is just like she's worked through her stuff. That's what she put her. I always knew, like, they put her hair down when she works through her Gorn issue, like working through her PTSD with the Gorn, and now she's like her beautiful long hair is out of those braids, and she was radiant, and she's working close with Kirk, and I'm just very, very excited to see that relationship take hold. And Christina Chong, who's just a delight, has said very, very nice things about Paul Wesley in interviews, which makes me think that they also have some good chemistry going, just like him and Ethan Peck might have some good chemistry going. So
I mean, it's a very sexy cast.
I ship it all. Yeah, that's true. So who are they not going to have chemistry with? Are the sexiest people.
Yeah, right.
I get that. But so I'm looking forward to seeing his relationship with Spock develop and his relationship with La'an develop. I hope we get more than just like a one little kiss, is what I'm saying. That's my wish. It's for more than one. My wish is for that one picture that we saw to not be it.
I mean, I know it's a cliche, and not true to the character to be like, Kirk's a womanizer and it's all about the relationships.
No,
but like, come on.
No, he's not a womanizer. Romance. He's not a womanizer at all.
No, he's not.
And him and La'an, like I get that. I get their personalities. I can see that.
Yeah.
Like that's,
no, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm saying, like, they should just go there, right? Like,
go there.
It makes sense.
Please.
Yeah.
All right. I'm done.
Okay, let me tell you.
What's your theory?
Let me tell you my theory. So lots of people are very disappointed this week, and I'm feeling it too, bitterly disappointed. We've come to the end of 48 weeks of straight Star Trek, the longest run of new Star Trek ever at 48 weeks. Yes, we've been extremely spoiled. And like any drug addict who is not getting their regular fix, I think lots of people are starting to go into withdrawal. I know I am. My skin is clammy. My hands are shaking. That's not because I'm recovering from a COVID infection. That's, not for any other reasons. No, I got plenty of good reasons, but I'm going into this week feeling a sense of withdrawal. There's not going to be a new episode of Star Trek on Thursday. And that sucks. Yes, we had 11 years, 12 years where there was no Star Trek on the air. And now I can't even make it 2 weeks like a fucking baby. But so my theory is, for those of you who are feeling the withdrawal this week, who are bereft at the lack of new Star Trek, I don't think the next 48 weeks of new Star Trek is all that far away at this stage.
Woo-hoo.
I think we get a few weeks off, and then I think we're launching into maybe not 48 straight weeks of Star Trek, but we're launching back into having a fairly well-defined year's worth of Star Trek episodes to watch, because, we're feeling very confident that Lower Decks Season 3 is coming back in August, probably in that mid-August point, the date that we talked about earlier in the episode, right before Ticonderoga and the week before Star Trek Las Vegas, 2 places I'll be at and having a great time. And then we've got 10 weeks of Lower Decks. Once that's done, we know Prodigy is going to pick up for the fall and run out Season 1B to bring us to the end of Season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy. That's another 10 weeks. We did this last year. We started with Lower Decks in mid-August, and then Prodigy picked up in early October, and that ran through, the end. There was a bit of chopping and changing because of the whole Discovery thing that was going on at the same time. That won't be an issue this time. Once that goes off the air, which I think is right at the end of this year, that then puts you in good stead for Star Trek Picard Season 3 to pick right up. My sense is that's going to come right after the turn of the new year. That will run for 10 weeks, followed by Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2 for 10 weeks, followed by Star Trek Discovery Season 5 for 10 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Because that's now filming now. They're all back in Toronto filming Star Trek Discovery. So there you have 30, plus Lower Decks is 40, plus Star Trek Prodigy is 50. So there are 50 new episodes that we feel very confident are coming almost certainly within a year from when we're talking right now. Well, there's only 52 weeks between now and this time next year, and we've got 50 episodes of Star Trek to fit in there. So I don't think they're going to be all that many breaks, is what I'm saying. And I think it's very, very likely that even though we sort of have this sense of it feels a little bit weird this week, there's no episode of new Star Trek for the first time in 48 weeks, and we don't know when the next new episode of Star Trek will be, that wait is going to be very short indeed. And then we're right back into the next 50 that we know are coming. Maybe there'll be a break here or there, so it's not going to be a straight 50, but it could be a straight 50. It very easily could be.
I hope you're right, because I'm feeling it too.
Yep, clammy, sweating profusely.
Just one little,
just give me a little taste.
Episode. That's all I need.
Yeah, just a short trek. I'd take a short trek at this stage.
Oh my
gosh. Just give me a 15-minute hit. Just get anything.
Oh no, it's not like there's 800 plus episodes to watch in the meantime.
Yeah, right. Including all the ones that were just on.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just straight up start a Strange New World rewatch. But pretty soon, there's I think we're just gonna have just enough time to buy some margarita salt and tequila and hit the next Lower Decks.
Do you have a theory or a wish for Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, or Prodigy that you'd like to share? Tweet them to me at WeeklyTrek or email them to me at weeklytrek@thetricordertransmissions.com, and I might feature your theory in a future episode. Well, that's all the time we've got for this episode of Weekly Trek. Thank you so much to my guest, Jen Tiff, for joining me today. Jen, how can people contact you if they want to continue the conversation?
Oh, you guys can find me on Twitter. I'm at Ida Quarks, and my podcast is Snap Trek.
And you can find this show on Twitter at WeeklyTrek and me at Alexander T. Perry. And if you enjoy the show, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. And please check out some of the other great shows on the Tricorder Transmissions. And if you like our shows, please also consider becoming a Patreon of Tricorder, which you can find at patreon.com/the Tricorder Transmissions. And lastly, if you're looking for Star Trek news on the internet, I hope you will turn to trekcore.com. Well, thank you, Jen. Thank you to all of my listeners. And until next week, live long and prosper.